I am right on time. A roundhouse. You never lose hope. Ripples in time. See, Fairy Dust Diaries is watch. I love her too. Welcome, welcome. This is gonna be fun. It's long overdue, and I can't wait to get it behind me. I'm telling you right now. I can't wait to get this shit behind me. Uh it's good. It's an interesting story. Dorothy Kilgallen was a very interesting woman, and I hope you come away with something. Hey, Nika, come away with just something different. Just something different. Hey, controller. Hello, girl. I cannot pronounce your first name. Shika. Shika. Hello, Pia. I just say Pia. I'm sorry. I'm the world's worst at pronouncing name. Uber. Let me get my thing here. Hold on. Uber wanted to do this. I'm gonna have to turn that phone off. Hey, Earth. Hey, pimp. Pimp Daddy. How are you? Hello from Puerto Rico. I can't say your name. It's a beautiful name, Meritaza. I can't do it. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sound it out like a dummy, and then I'll be able to do it. That's me. I'm glad you're doing great. This is going to be part one. Hey, Kathy. Um, this story is so big, and Maurizia, is that it, Maurizia? That's beautiful. This is going to be part one. Now, part one. Hey, Prissy. Hey, Uni. Oh, okay, baby. Uni, I love you very much. Gamecock girl. Here comes my love. Hello.
Hi, Shannon.
Now, we have talked about doing this forever. And hey,
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy. And I can't wait, Uber, I can't wait to get this over with. I have lived,
I'll bet it's.
well, I've done so much, and you know the story. What like part one? Hey, free side. Um,
Mm-hmm.
part one is interesting. Part two is where all the bombshells are.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I have to turn that off. Uh, part
Okay.
two is where the bombshells are. It's where
Right.
nothing makes sense anymore. It's where you find all of the evidence, corruption, who, why. Hey, curious, who, what, why, and where. But I thought it was important for y'all to know Dorothy so that you cared about her, so that you cared that this woman has
Mm-hmm.
been forgotten in history, just forgotten. And I'm gonna, we'll
You
listen.
know,
Oh, she was been forgotten.
she was she was a brilliant woman,
Yes.
very smart for her time, and people
Golly.
took her for granted. They didn't know how far she could go, and they found out real quick, didn't they?
Well, I was thinking today, she didn't open doors. She kicked them straight off the frame in the things that she
Boy,
done.
you're
And
right
she
with that.
started when she was a very young. And so
Hi, everybody. I see you.
from the time that she started as a reporter to the time that she died,
Mm-hmm.
it was uh we'll say 20. Let's say 20. She died at 55, 54, 55. So she
Mm-hmm.
in that
50.
amount of
Yeah.
time, she kicked some doors. I mean, frames and all. So I hope y'all. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Sage. Hey, crazy nurse. So I hope y'all enjoyed. I'm gonna lay it. You know what I did? I'll tell you what I did, Uber. Is I made this very detailed outline to help myself follow what I wanted. How I wanted to lay it out, and it was good.
Right.
It's still in Cincinnati, Ohio. because that's where I did it. I did it while I was in Cincinnati, and it's still there. So I'm trying to remember. Like I know, right? Because when I was in Cincinnati, I had a week of just nothing, and I made more notes. I am the copious note taker.
I'm telling you what, you're a hell of a lot more organized than I ever was on any of this.
Wait till this. You might not say that when this is over. I will read, and I can't remember where I got this. It was in the book that I wrote. Here, wait a minute, let me find the book. There's so many books, and I always put where I get my information in the about section. Everywhere I've ever got it, it's listed, and I will list it down for you in case this interests
pretty cool.
you. But Dorothy Kilgallen was the greatest media star of the 20th century. And I don't think that's saying, I mean, that's barely covering it, honestly. And I know we're going to let people come in, but I want to just.
She started her career right before her 18th birthday. So she's been at this her whole life.
Oh, her whole life. And her father was also a reporter, and she adored him. And every night they would sit at the dinner table because they lived in New York. She had a younger sister, and she would just, everything her father would tell her, she would just soak it up. Hey, Mon Chi-Chi, there he is.
Hey, Mon.
She would just soak it up. She just, because he was a very good reporter as well. He worked for Hearst, as did she, her whole career.
Wow, I didn't know that he worked for her. Wow.
Oh, yeah. William Randolph Hearst. She showed it because he bought he bought two papers and merged them. And so from her very first article to her very last article, she was syndicated like in 200 newspapers across the country. And
wow.
So I'm going to read some quotes that were people had said about her. All right, so Dorothy was the greatest woman writer in the world, and that was Ernest Hemingway.
Wow.
Yes. F. Lee Bailey, and if y'all don't know who F. Lee Bailey is, he was a pretty famous lawyer, and we'll get into who F. Lee Bailey is sooner or later. But she was a very bright and very good reporter of criminal cases, the best there was. Wow. So then the New York Post, the most powerful female voice in America. Now, she died in 1965. So from, 18 to listen, this woman, you don't know. She was a mother, a wife, a reporter, a radio star, she wrote books. She covered investigative journalists. She covered trials. She covered the biggest trials. Subscribe to general awareness. I think everybody already is. Hey, Finny, I like you a long time. So let's just get into it.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
Let's do it to it.
June 1931. We're going to go back there. Her father worked for a newspaper. He said, let my daughter write one article, and if you like it, give her a chance. Well, she wrote it. She'd been to college. She stayed 2 semesters, I think, maybe even just one, and left. She didn't even need college. She didn't need it. So they were so impressed with her.
Brilliant.
They gave her a 2-week trial after that, and then she worked for that paper till the day she died. So from 1931 to 1965, she worked for that newspaper. They gave her murder trials to cover, or court. She loved the court. Like, they go in and cover court. And then they gave her a murder trial. And she went and covered it like a champ.
Sam Shepard, is that the one you're talking about?
That's one of them. I've got them listed.
One of them.
Some of the like the first.
Oh, incredible.
Yet in the early time, it was just, not huge ones. That was a huge one. You have to think in the 20th century, there was a trial of the century every decade. Honestly. So that was one of the big ones that she covered. Now, 3 newspaper men decided they were going to see who could go around the world the quickest using only transportation that the public could use. Dorothy begged to go, and her editor was like, no, it's just too dangerous. You're a girl. And well, she went. In a matter of days, she got 16 visas, packed her little her little typewriter, and set off with those men. Now hold on. She's amazing.
I was going to look here real quick. Do you happen to know how tall she was? She was a tiny woman.
She was tiny, but I think she was like 5'6".
So
I looked it up too.
Okay, I'm going to look it up here real quick. Oh, okay.
And they visited the 4 of them after her visited England, France, Germany, Italy, Greece, Egypt, Iraq, India, the Philippines, and China. Now, the man who won, and I'm not even going to name him. I'm not going to name him because the last leg of that journey, he chartered a plane. Hey, Diesel, which is not a form of, another form of transportation that most people can do. It was exactly, Pimp.
Mm-hmm.
She did the Amazing Race before it was a race. So Dorothy actually came in second, but she did it the right way. She didn't cheat. So actually, that little woman won that whole thing.
Jeez.
So from that came a
book
called The Girl Around the World. That was her first book. I think she was 23. Yeah, she was 23 years old. At 24, by 24, she'd gone to Hollywood. They made her book into a screenplay and then a movie that was titled Fly Away Baby. She appeared in a movie. None of that really worked out, but she did it. So,
and this was back in like 1937, where women didn't write. No, it was not common for a woman to write.
They just, it's pretty.
It just floors me how smart this woman was.
Well, they would send her on these great little trips. Like she went to the wedding of Franklin Delano Roosevelt Jr. So then they assigned her own column, and it was called The Voice of Broadway. And what she would do was she would go to, obviously, Broadway shows. She would go to clubs. It was like a gossip, what's going on and all that.
Like Hedda.
So she wrote that column from 1938 to 1965 at her death. I'll give you the longevity of all of her achievements. So she had that 1938 to 1965. She would add into it politics. And there were stars she didn't care for, like Frank Sinatra.
Mm-hmm.
She called out Frank Sinatra's organized crime ties, all of his affairs, all of his dirty deeds, and he hated her just as much as she hated him. He would call her the chillest.
But weren't they friends at one time?
At the beginning,
were they friends at one time, Shannon?
At the beginning, at the very, maybe 5 minutes. I don't know. He would attack her in his shows, and she would just write a absolute scathing report on him the next day. State of disorder, baby. So, regular Lois Lane, she kind of was, though. So that Voice of Broadway was very popular, hugely popular.
Wow.
Yeah, her very public feud with Sinatra. She called him out on all the
I
Kennedy.
wouldn't have wanted to mess with him.
I, me either, because he did not play. The people that listen, the people that he fooled with, you hear about in part two. They're very much still around. Very much still
Yeah.
around. What book is this? Let me show you. It is called. It is. Hold on. Open my damn drawer. It is called "The Reporter That Who Knew Too Much." Here it is.
Yep.
And there is another book that I really want that was done in the 70s that this author drew a lot out of that book. And this author also wrote another book about JFK, Maryland, and Dorothy because they were connected.
Did you see that documentary that that author did on YouTube?
Yes.
He did like a full presentation of that book. Oh my gosh, incredible!
It's gonna be good. Let me let y'all see her. I want y'all to see her.
Yeah.
So let me bring up. I got some
She's
stuff.
kind of a homely little thing.
I mean, she was little.
Know?
She
and she was pretty
little
in her own way.
She was I think she was beautiful. She just was to me. I don't know why. All right, are we seeing that? Probably not. Can y'all see
I
that?
don't see it.
I never do this right. All right.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Let me share screen. Share screen.
Hi, everybody out there. I see y'all for a minute.
All right, here we go. I got you.
I'm glad you got photographs.
I mean, and look at her. This was in her later life too. I mean, and we'll discuss why she's dressed like that and what she's doing. But there she is, attending, a party or opening. Well, that's a little overstated. We'll just stop there. We'll get to those people in a second. But she was very beautiful.
Yeah.
But Frank Sinatra would attack her looks. It was really horrible. Take the finger. Hey, Melinda. Yeah, right here. She spent months pounding his career and his personal life, and he just wasn't happy with her. He wasn't at all. So eventually, she went to a play one night, and there was a man on the stage that drew her attention, and his name was Richard Comer. And they got married, and Richard was a pretty successful man. Back then in the 30s and the 40s, you had radio stars, right? You had radio shows that came on, and he was the voice of quite a few of those. He was also an actor. He was also a producer, and seemingly very, very successful. So they married. Shortly after that came a son and a daughter. Now, mind you, she's still working every day. They're going out together. Her and Richard are going out to these parties and these openings, and he is quickly becoming Mr. Kilgallen instead of Richard.
Yes, he didn't like that.
No, he didn't like that. Not at all. But they had a radio show, and their radio show came on Monday through Saturday. It was 45 minutes. And it was them from their home talking to their friends or about what they had done the night before. And I'll let you hear a little bit of that. Now, they did this.
That's cool. Good.
Every day, every week, every day for, I think, 15 years. 15 years. So Let's listen so you can hear her voice. Here we go.
This woman was phenomenal. I just can't even say enough about her.
It's I know that I'm going to forget something that she's done and it's gonna bug me. But here she is.
Good morning, sweetie.
I hope you noticed Julius's face when he ushered our guests in this morning.
I did. Well, I guess Julius is a movie fan.
And that's not all. He's a baseball fan.
Yes, and it's
That's their
all
butler.
over him today. Well, it's 8:15, and this is Breakfast with Dorothy and Dick, coming as usual, direct from our apartment on 66th Street, New York. And today we're very happy to have at our breakfast table two friends who are also neighbors. And they've strolled up the street for some coffee and eggs with us. They're Leo DeRocha, who needs no introduction in this neck of the woods, and his very beautiful wife, Mrs. DeRocha.
Now, this is heard every day. And thank you for being a new member. So God, I can't express you. She's writing a column every day in the morning.
Right.
She's doing the radio show in the morning. It's only 45 minutes, but you still have to plan. And let's just say that's the first podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Dorothy Kilgallen.
Absolutely. Yep.
Nothing new to her. So then she would write the articles, but she would have to go out, right? Because usually you had to go to a club or you had to drum up, some kind of gossip, even though she had feelers everywhere, and she would write that column every day and she would raise her children and find time to do it all. And I don't know how she did it. So
I don't know how she did it either. Jiminy Christmas.
No, I don't. Hey, Christy. So, okay, now her next job. Are you going to read? Hey, underline job number 27. There was a show called What's My Line, and it was live.
Yep, my favorite.
Yeah, it was on Sunday nights, and you had a panel of people, usually, sometimes even a guest panelist. And people would come on and they would have to guess what their job was. So Dorothy started that on, let me see, did I write the date down? It was 1950. She did that job for 15 years.
Yeah, 1950.
Until her death. And I'm going to show you a little bit of her very last show. This show was...
I'm glad you...
Yeah. It was taped on it was shown because it was always live, and it was on November 7th. She died November 8th. So let's look at her move and look at her and the if they copy strike me for this, I will be livid. All right, let's look. Here we go.
Just play a little bit of it. Yay!
Thank you. On my left, a young man who's just returned from Africa from making a picture called Marrakesh, Mr. Tony Randall.
This was a huge show, guys. This was a huge show.
Oh my God.
I know, look at him.
As ever, it's a joy to introduce
Wow.
the girl on my block, Arlene Francis.
It's the liveliest girl on my block. I mean, look at the way they are dressed. And I want you to notice. Oh, Lord. Hold on. I want you to notice Dorothy's. Shit. I want you to notice her hairpiece, her dress.
Brought to you by
All right, we don't want flashman's margin.
So light and delicate tasting because it's made from 100.
This is back in the day when they didn't even, the minute they got out of bed, they dolled up.
Yeah.
What's my line?
All right, look at her when she comes out. All right, I'm going to wait to see. Tilts her head there.
Let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
All right. Now, there you go. You see that hairpiece? In the very, there it is. It's a hairpiece.
Right there. Yep.
It's sewn into her hair. All right, her hairdresser, Mark, one of her inner circle, sewed that into her hair. She wasn't supposed to wear that dress. She was supposed to wear another dress, but she wore that one. I don't know why. But that hairpiece and that dress will, hey chick, that will be important in part 2. It will be very everything about this thing was good. It's about part 2.
Now that you mentioned that, now I remember.
Yeah. It's really part 2 is where all the dirt is. So 1953, she was invited by Queen Elizabeth to cover her coronation. Let me repeat. She was invited by Queen Elizabeth to cover the coronation. She was in the chapel in there. That's saying a lot as well.
Yeah, it does.
Now let's go to this. Well, her and her husband, Richard, and let me find a picture of him now that I'm ready for it. Let's look at Richard.
He was kind of a good looking guy, wasn't he?
He was. I thought he was. Am I showing myself?
Yes, Prissy, she did have an amazing life.
She did, but here's the thing. Nobody handed it to her. Nobody handed it to her. She went out and grabbed it. Her and Richard started to have a little bit of problems. It's hard when everything that your wife is doing is so huge and everything. He was a drinker too. He was an absolute alcoholic. So we're going to get into some of her personal life, which is terribly, terribly salacious, and how she felt.
He was naughty.
Let's see. Hold on. I'm looking for. I have so many stashes of pictures from her. I don't know if I have one of her and Richard. Oh, there she goes. There we go. There's Richard. Can you see that?
You might have to click on it and make it large. All I see is a lot of different pictures, little ones.
Very, very big. Richard wasn't ugly. He was an actor. So I mean,
good-looking guy.
He was a good-looking guy, but he got tired of being, Mr. Oh, let me get that down. He got tired of being Mr. Kilgallen. So their marriage broke down. They had small children. At this time, she had bought a 5-story townhouse in Manhattan. They had a staff. Their kids went to the best schools. It was all her money, nothing. He just stopped existing. So she met a man named Johnny Ray.
That would be hard on a man's ego.
Yeah. And again, in part 2, you can find out what. I should have just started with part 2. So she met a man. She went to a nightclub and there was a man named Johnny Ray, and he was a pretty huge deal in the 50s. The entire 1950 to 1959, he was pretty popular, and they fell into a passionate relationship. He basically took Richard's place. They would go to openings. They would go to this. They would go to that. If he had a concert somewhere, she would write it up and just in her column. And a lot of his success probably came from her. But so her and Johnny Ray started a passionate affair.
Naughty.
Almost immediately, Dorothy becomes pregnant. Her children by then were like 9 and 11. It wasn't planned, and it wasn't Mr. Comer's child. She had a son named Cary Comer. Now, Richard was never photographed with that child. You know how they would do, like, I think I showed one, a publicity with her, with all the children. He never had his photograph taken with that boy. When people said,
So he knew it wasn't his.
well, he knew, because he knew he wasn't in there. So,
Mm-hmm.
and if they look just alike, let me find a picture of that. I've got that picture too. But people would say, Dorothy, why don't you just, why do you stay with Richard? And she said, oh, I could never divorce him. He's been too good. Meaning, he has taken this child to raise. He has taken this child to raise. There they are with their children.
Let me see. Carrie was born in 1954.
Yeah. 1954. That's the same time, around the same time that she started to cover the Sam Shepard trial. She's in that same year. It was a very important year for her, in a lot of ways. So, can y'all see? No, you can't. Why am I not?
Yeah, it's not enlarging.
Hold on, people. Yeah, 1954.
And if y'all remember, Sam Shepard was that doctor that was convicted of killing his wife and then took off. There's a movie about it out there.
The Fugitive.
Oh, there it is. The Fugitive.
Yeah, that's the two older children, and you notice Richard is photographed with them, right?
Right.
Well, guess what? He ain't photographed no more.
Carrie's not there.
There he is again. There's her older children. Look at her. That room there in her townhouse had no electricity in it. It was called the Revolutionary Room, I think, and she wanted it. That's why you have these candelabras. It had no electricity in there.
Wow.
Here's Johnny Ray. Hello, Johnny. What are you doing there, baby? There's Johnny Ray dancing with Judy Garland. Wait a minute. There's Johnny Ray.
Oh, my gosh.
With Dorothy out.
It's all over the little farts.
Yes. That's for something else. Leave that alone. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's me.
Hello.
That's me.
Oh, my gosh.
So sorry. Okay,
oh
sorry. Oh, no, I did it again. Get away. Get away. All right, let's stop sharing that. That's the shit we get up to when we're behind stage. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I love you. Okay, so now we have one of our investigators. We got to stop. I got to get rid of that picture. Hey, Crystal. She started to cover the Sam.
Isn't that a beautiful picture?
Of her?
And the kids, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh. And he was accused of murdering his wife. Yeah, if y'all have seen the Fugitive movie with Harrison Ford or the TV show, I can't remember the person that did that. That same guy. He said that a bushy-haired man came in to their home and stabbed his wife 27 times. He was injured, like a head injury. He think he got hit in the head. And
wow.
So the judge, before the trial started, and this happened a lot, wanted to meet Dorothy Kilgallen back in his chambers. And she went back there and they posed together and they spoke. Now, when they spoke, Dorothy was making this small talk about, this is going to be an interesting trial. And the judge looked at her and said, what do you mean? It's going to be interesting. It's open and shut. He killed her. So that's the judge before the damn thing even started. That's going to be important in a minute. Dorothy did not say, Dorothy kept that because of her ethics, right? She kept that to herself. If you told her something and said, don't, she kept it. So the trial proceeded.
Wow.
There was a lot of evidence to find him guilty. There was little to none. But
Mhm.
to her, a shocking, a shocking finale, they found him guilty, and he went to prison. Now, years later, after the judge died, she met Effie Bailey, who was now Sam Shepard's attorney. Effie Bailey was working on stuff to get Sam a new trial. And she said,
Right.
"Oh, let me tell you this." And she told him what the judge said. And that got him a new trial.
Oh,
So, but she sat on it until he died.
yep.
And
Yep.
actually, Sam was found, did get a new trial right before Dorothy died. After Dorothy died, he was found innocent.
Yep.
And
Retried and acquitted.
nail that in for y'all, later on, in the not too distant past, DNA completely exonerated Sam Shepard.
Wow.
So
How cool
Dorothy
is
was
that?
always on his side. Always, just couldn't believe he'd been found guilty. So she's starting to ruffle feathers because she wrote that in her voice of Broadway, and people would just eat it up, right? She would give daily things, and were it not for her speaking up, I don't know where he'd be dead. He'd be dead.
Yep. He would have died in prison for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. So hold on, that's the wrong one. Now
there's so much to this. This is getting into the good part now.
We're getting into the good stuff. We are. We're approaching the Kennedys. Okay, we're getting there quick. She did a lot of other trials. Let me find them. She did a lot of trials. And every one of them, the judge wanted her back. Judge wanted her to talk to her. The prosecutors wanted pictures with her. The defense attorney, the daggone defendant. I mean, there was not a lot of people that didn't want to be seen with her or want her in there. And like I said, loose lips. We'll get to the other trials in a minute. So she did say,
guys, I'm telling you, look at this woman. Look at Shannon. This woman busts her ass for these shows. She does so much research. Hi, Sierra.
She also covered Bruno Holtzman, the Lindbergh baby, the Lindbergh baby, the one that
that's right. I forgot about that.
She covered that. Was one of her earlier ones, and I forgot to mention them. She covered that one. Honestly, I don't know about how much evidence. I mean, I think it was pretty substantial, the evidence against Bruno for the Lindbergh baby. But
right.
I'm gonna percent. Hold on. Because I have that's Jack Ruby. Is it showing? No, of course not.
No.
She did not Bruno. She did Sam Shepard. So many. The Lindbergh baby. Yeah, the Lindbergh baby. She covered that trial. You know what? People have said they thought it was his wife because she had some kind of postpartum. But, and you can frame, it was a whole lot easier to frame somebody back in the day. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that anybody was framed, but the ladder, the wood for the ladder came from his attic.
Ladder, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, God damn it. I did it again. All right, there's Sam Shepard.
There you go.
He was handsome. Oh, that's Joe Kennedy. We got to go back this way. All right. Oh, let's not get into Lindbergh.
Well, Chick is over there just spouting off these dates. Good for you, Chick. Yeah, 1935, she said it could have been. Yeah.
When Carrie was very young, her third son, Carrie, he was like an only child. She adored that child. And they went on a trip because she was very good friends with Pierre Salinger, who was John F. Kennedy's press secretary. So Pierre Salinger said, "I'm going to give you and Carrie a personal tour of the White House." I tell you earlier, oh, I hadn't even wondered where she was, Prissy. I've been wondering where she is. I told her, I said hello, I love her. So while he's getting, and Carrie had a little thing of letters from his third grade class. So all of a sudden, a tall, imposing man comes through, and it is John F. Kennedy. And he invites the little boy and, of course, his mother into the Oval Office. He reads all the letters. He gets down on the floor with him. He reads all the letters. I love you, Sierra, too, so much, and I pray for you. Don't know. John F. Kennedy gives him a gold pen, like a gold writing pen. All these little trinkets from his office, from his presidency, and then he waits to last to read Carrie's letter, and he said, "Very good. This is very, very good." And he looked at Dorothy and said, "Do you think he's a Republican?" And she said, "No, I think after today he's a Democrat." So she also followed Kennedy's from when he first threw his hat in the ring. She was like right there behind him. So that is what people consider a friendship. Because I guess, you have your little son there, and this man takes the time to come out, the president of the United States, and read all the little boy's letters and give him all these things and talk to him about his life. And she was just beaming, beaming.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
So some people said, they were friends. No, they weren't friends, but she sure did appreciate his attention. I keep putting my stuff in the same pile. That's where I'm getting mixed up. All right, so
was she a debutante? Chick wants to know if she was a debutante.
No, because her father did not have a lot of money. He was a reporter, and the mother, I can't remember what her mother did, but no, they weren't. She wasn't a debutante. She not to my knowledge,
very humble, very, very humble.
Yeah. Very, she was. She didn't, I mean, I couldn't even get over myself if I was her. I would be so like, hello, I'm Dorothy, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to get to the assassination. Now, she was watching the news that day. And this is where I'm going to connect it. I'm going to show you. They weren't friends, but what she did for him after that assassination, what she did for John F. Kennedy himself, was pretty important. So she was watching that day. She was very interested because, so John F. Kennedy's vice president was, who was it? It was Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson was from Texas.
Yes.
Lyndon Johnson was scared that John F. Kennedy was going to drop him as vice president in the next election. So to placate Lyndon B. Johnson, he did this thing in Texas. He went down there. And so she watched him get off the plane. She watched him get in the car. She watched him get shot. And she was terrified and horrified. Everybody. I mean, everybody. But she knew something wasn't right. She knew, and as that day, when I read the way that you think how that day progressed from history, it was a very quick.
Right.
It was very quick. they blame Oswald for killing a policeman right before he gets apprehended. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how you. I don't know. But Oswald obviously was apprehended rather quickly, and J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, said, "Listen, this was almost immediately, lone gunman. This was a lone gunman." And Dorothy was like, "I ain't real sure. No, don't think it was." And so she started calling Dallas because she had connections down there, right? And they started, "Hey, Brantley, baby." They started, calling police, calling wherever, and they would give her all the information. And it was, to her, pretty, no, it wasn't a lone gunman. Now, when she started put that out in her column, J. Edgar Hoover becomes, God bless, enemy number, I don't know how many now, enemy number 5. He was so angry because she wouldn't stop doing it. And she started a file that day. She started a file. This file is going to be very important later on. She started a file on it. She had all of her connections. She started making notes. She started connecting stuff. And then
she knew more about that Kennedy assassination. And that's what, she knew. Oh, yes. It just gives me goosebumps.
And I'm going to tell you almost how she knew. And then, like, part 2 is going to have all the dirt. Hey, M's, baby. So through her connections, like I said, she knew something went right. And then she watched Oswald being transferred from one part of the jail to the other part of the jail. And then she sees this man fastly approaching him, and she hears a shot, and down goes Oswald. And she thought, well, that's pretty, wow, they got him 2 days later. That's pretty convenient. Well, it turns out that the man who shot him, Jack Ruby, was known mob ties. He owned a strip club and was very well known to police for every single reason you can ever think of. How does a known mob-connected strip club owner get into a garage where the most high-profile prisoner is being seemingly moved for no real good reason and can get up there? Jack Ruby was all over that police station that morning, all over it. And why? Nobody said, listen, we're getting ready to move Oswald, very high target, clear the whole thing. No, that's not what they did. So that further said, Dorothy went, oh, no. Let me write that name down in my little folder. So, again, she wrote and she wrote about it. And
there's so much conspiracy to that, but I think Dorothy was closer to the truth than a lot of people think. And a lot of people weren't even aware that Dorothy was involved deeper than what they thought.
That is right, because Dorothy, hold on.
I know, right?
Dorothy didn't run around and go, hey, y'all want to see my file? Hey, you want to see my file? No. She didn't do that. She had an inner circle, a very small inner circle, that included her hairdresser. Sorry, but it just did. A lot of people kind of, didn't give him enough credit. He did her hair and makeup every day. Every day.
Right.
So, oddly enough, I thought I turned that off. Hey, Monroe, baby. I thought I didn't say howdy. I'm sorry. So,
I love that.
Jack Ruby, girls and boys, he's going to trial. Let's talk about Jack Ruby. So, strip club owner, mob ties. Okay, he was really originally from Chicago. All right, moved to Dallas. Several members of the Chicago mob moved to Dallas to take over the prostitution and narcotics operations. Oh, you didn't know? Now you do. The former Dallas County Sheriff Steve Guthrie told the FBI Ruby operated some prostitution activities and other vices in his club. Really? So he was known to law enforcement. In 1959, Ruby was approached by an FBI agent, Charles Flynn, to become an informant, a federal informant, due to his job at the nightclub. So he was willing, and was contacted 8 times between March 11th, 1959 and October 2nd, 1959, but provided no information. He was dropped without pay, and his contract was null and void. All right. This is a man that is in the sheriff's department while the highest profile prisoner on earth is being moved seemingly for no reason from this part to this part, and was allowed to get in there with a gun and shoot him. But let's go. So he was described as a kook, totally unpredictable, a psycho, and suffering from some form of disturbance. He was heavily in debt at the time of the assassination. He was seen on several occasions in the halls of the Dallas Police Department after Oswald's arrest on November 22nd, 1963. He was president. He was president at an arranged press meeting with Oswald. Newsreel footage has him in there. He impersonated a reporter, and during the press conference, the DA used. Oswald was very pro-Castro, pro communist, and the DA used the wrong term. He made it sound like he was against it, and Oswald spoke up and says, "No, dude, you got it wrong." I mean, not Oswald, Jack Ruby. So on November 24th, Ruby drove to town to send a money order to an employee. The timestamp on the money order was 11:17 a.m. He then walked to the Dallas Police Department. He made his way to the basement where Oswald was being transferred to a nearby whatever. It didn't need to happen. County jail at 11:21 a.m. Ruby emerged through the crowd and shot Oswald in the abdomen. A police detective recognized Ruby and said, "Jack, you son of a bitch." Oswald was dead by 1:07 p.m. So, now, Dorothy had all this information. By the way, this after Jack Ruby did it, Dorothy had all this within days. Had more than so. Dorothy was the only member of the press who actually spoke to Ruby during the trial. She spoke to Ruby twice, okay? The first time.
Did she?
Oh, yes. Melvin Bella represented Jack Ruby, and which was odd because Melvin Bella was not a criminal attorney. He was a civil attorney. Melvin Bella also had a lot of clients that were like he represented the girlfriend of a mobster in Chicago on drug charges. So once Oswald was killed, Bella was heard saying, well, I guess I gotta represent Ruby. So I mean, so you have Melvin Bella, and they're staying in him and Dorothy are in the same hotel. They meet after, the whole long day in the bar. They discuss Melvin Bella is very open. She kept asking for an interview with him. And he kept saying, no, no, no. So in court, Melvin Belli stood up and decided that he was going to use the insanity plea for Jack Ruby. Not a decision that a seasoned criminal attorney would make. Because let's see, Jack Ruby killed the most hated man in the world, in America, right? Odds are you plead guilty, you get some time, and it's done. You got to draw it out. This upset Ruby to no end. He did not want people to think he was insane, even though from some of the stuff that I read you, he was a little, not. He said he killed Oswald so that Miss Kennedy wouldn't have to go through a trial. But there wouldn't have been a trial.
Oh, yep.
There wouldn't have been a trial. And Dorothy would say, why are you doing this? And I don't think Belli really knew what he was doing. I don't think he did. So Jack Ruby
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't. Jack Ruby wanted to testify. He wanted to tell a story. And Melvin Belli kept saying, no, you're not doing it. Well, Dorothy found out that Jack Ruby was friends with an opera singer in San Francisco. So she calls the opera singer, right? And the opera singer has a message she wants to give to Jack Ruby. So Dorothy tells the assistant defense attorney, a friend of his wants me to give him a message. And he went, oh, okay. So for 10 minutes, she gives him the message, and they talk for 10 minutes. Which for a seasoned reporter, 10 minutes is a real damn long time. If you're Dorothy Kilgallen, pull out everything. You could pull out his second grade teacher's last name.
Yeah.
So that was the first time. That's when he told her he wanted to testify, but Belli wouldn't let him. And he was very upset about being called crazy. And he was just broken. Her word, broken. Hey, pirate. He was broken. I guess the severity of what he did. But if they had just said guilty, Your Honor, it had been done. I don't even think he got a long sentence, but I don't know.
Can I ask you something if you've heard this? Now, there was a conspiracy, and I've got videos and everything I'm going to send you, that Jack Ruby met with two mafia people prior to JFK being assassinated. He met with Ruby. Ruby met with them, and also with the guy that killed him, Kennedy, right? They framed that guy.
Yeah, well, supposedly,
There was actually another shooter over there by the wall.
Yeah.
So Ruby and this other kid were supposedly met these mafia people in this motel room prior to JFK being killed. Now, I've heard that. I've heard the recordings of it all. But I don't know if Dorothy knew that. Is there anything that would suggest she knew anything about that?
I think that because we don't know what was in when Dorothy died, okay, on the 8th of November of 1965. That file has never been seen since. It's gone. She kept it on the very top.
Wow. Kind of like Monroe's diary.
I'm going to give y'all a teaser about Marilyn Monroe. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about this. I'll give you teasers to next week. So, she talked. I think she might have. I can't remember. I think she wrote a little bit about what he said, but hey, all that in a bag of chips. But not a lot. She wasn't one to go run. Hey, Garb. So then she actually, with the judge and with Belli, work out another meeting to where they were in a closed door office off the court. She and Ruby alone, door shut, 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. Whatever he told her is what lit her
Oh my God.
on fire. And she never said it. But it was in the file. He was in the file. But the file.
Right.
So whatever was talked about, she never revealed it, but it lit a fire in her, and she was off to the races with names.
That's
so
crazy, Shannon. Oh
is.
man.
Eventually well, then I'll tell you what, Jack Ruby got mad at her because she called him a gangster or mobster, and he got mad at her and he wouldn't talk to her anymore. But I mean, whatever, she got whatever she needed. And the jury came back and found him guilty and gave him the freaking death penalty.
Right.
Thanks, Bella. And then rather quickly after that, Jack Ruby got cancer. And it wasn't very long. He didn't have it very long. He deteriorated really quickly. And a lot of people thought that all right, well, I digress. We have the Warren Commission. And if y'all don't know what the Warren Commission, and I'm not talking down to you, some people just might not know. The Warren Commission was an investigation by Senator Warren into the JFK assassination. It was long. It was some say corrupted. I don't know. It had to kind of follow J. Edgar Hoover. He did not want this to be, he wanted it to be two lone gunmen. It was, Oswald and Ruby, not connected. Stop it. So Jack Ruby begged to be to testify in front of the Warren Commission, and they said that they wouldn't fly him to Texas. From Texas to Washington, but they got 107-page testimony from him. And here's how good Dorothy was. Dorothy got that report before J. Edgar Hoover and published it in her newspaper.
Oh, what a slap in the face to Hoover, right?
Oh, yes.
Woo!
She got every...
And he was naughty.
He got it before he did. Got it before the president did. Miss Kilgallen for the win. So, here we are. Now, some of you might say, okay, well, why are we even talking about organized crime? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to go back a little bit. We all know the Kennedys, right? So we have Joseph Kennedy, who groomed every one of his sons to be the president. But the first son, Joseph Kennedy Jr., was the one that was taking all the classes. That's the one that the daddy put all the eggs in his basket. He was a Junior was he went over to Nazi Germany and said, "Oh, Dad, they've got some great things going on over here." Thank God. He was killed in the war. In a plane. Thank God, because he thought he was doing great things over there. So all of it went to John, who was mirroring every class, every school that Joe Jr. went to. So did John F. Kennedy. So did Bobby Kennedy. So did Edward. So now everything falls on JFK. Now, what his daddy did was when he went to all of these organized crime families, because they were ahead unions. Any union in the freaking country, they were running it. So people at that time, listen, it was a huge deal that a Catholic was elected to be a president. I don't think people remember or know that. It was a huge deal that a Catholic was president. Oh my God. So Joe Sr. went to all these mobsters. They were head of all these unions and said, listen, just get my boy in. Get your people to vote for my boy.
Oh, yeah.
We will leave you alone and do whatever you want. And they did. And they elected him. However, Bobby Kennedy, who was his brother's attorney general, had a fire in his ass for organized crime. And he hit up every damn one of them. And he had him in front of Congress.
Yep.
And he went for him like crazy. When JFK was assassinated,
Yep.
Bobby Kennedy said, why did they kill him? It was supposed to be me. That's all he could say over and over. It was supposed to be me. It was supposed to be me.
They hated Bobby. Hoover hated Bobby.
So what everyone believes is that this particular, and I will name him next week, particular mobster said, all right, Joe Sr., you fuck us. Watch what we do to you. Watch what we do. And that's why that was a message to Joe Sr. And then they took the second one. They took so he lost 3 sons trying to make him all president. Would Bobby Kennedy have been elected president? I don't know. I guess we will never know because he got murdered, while he was campaigning. But many think that the organized crime sent a message to Joe Sr., you don't mess with us. You fucked us over. Because it didn't really, if you look, it did not take a lot of moving parts to do this. You took Oswald and Ruby. If something happened to Oswald, Ruby was supposed to take care of it, and he did. Sending a mob-affiliated attorney, Melvin Belli, to absolutely screw Jack Ruby to death. Basically, she said he sent him to the death. He sent him to his death. I mean, he wasn't, it
was all a plot,
So old Joe was a creep, and he was a jerk, and he was a fraudster. And so that brings us to it. I mean, at this point, and I have to add some of these in because at this point, her list of enemies were the FBI, the CIA. She also went up against Russia and started talking about Russia was mad at her because she went after the first
Steel, didn't she?
Calling her ugly, which wasn't a lie. It said that Cuba didn't really want her getting in the middle of this. The mob didn't. Now I have to add Sinatra. Do I think Sinatra had her murdered? Absolutely damn not. Do I think he personally it was somebody that was responsible? Oh, probably. And then you have to put in J. Edgar Hoover because she absolutely she made him look like a dope. She really
Hoover didn't like her at all. Yeah.
No, especially when she said, "Oh, I've got Jack Ruby's 107-page testimony to the Warren Commission. Y'all will see it. All right, here we go."
Oh my God.
Yes. Oh, have you read that book? I've got a book about Rose Kennedy and the lobotomy in her life, and I'm telling you what.
Oh, about that. I would love to read that.
Oh, it's, you know what? I can send it right to you. It's a good book.
My God, I would love it.
It's so sad. It is so sad.
Mm-hmm. Did she not have like Asperger's or something like that?
We'll never know because when she, she was the second one born, or maybe I can't remember now. So many of them. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't progressing the way the rest of them were.
Right.
And she would get very angry. In school, she was not progressing. She just wasn't. So we don't know what was really wrong. I don't know that there was ever, honestly, there was ever a diagnosis. So, because I'll tell you why it happened. Rose Kennedy was in labor and she did not want to give birth until Joe got there. So they held that baby in. And that's what did it.
Right.
That's what,
Yeah.
I mean, there's another star that did that. I want to say it was, I can't remember. It was a star did that. Same damn
God bless
thing.
her.
So they kept sending Rose to private schools away from the house, of course, that were
Mm,
the students were very much younger than her, but she was on their level. I don't even think she was on their
yeah,
level. Well, then she started to get out,
yeah, she was.
and she was a pretty girl, and she started getting out, like walking around downtown, and that's when Joe decided, no, she can't get pregnant. Something might happen to her, because I think she had started to show an interest, and
Oh boy.
I mean,
Oh,
and then
any young girl, you know what? Crazy teenagers.
yeah, yeah, she was a child in the body of a adult, and yeah, she was
Right.
severely auctioned. Yeah, listen. I've had babies. I have never heard of somebody holding in. What is going on? I don't know how you even do that.
Right. Exactly.
But,
How could you even do that? Jiminy Christmas.
this is to the mother. They would write her letters, and they would have her write letter. They would have the brothers and sisters write her letters, and she would get letters that were she would send her parents letters that were obviously not written by a Rhodes Scholar, and JFK went to see her several times. She was in a home at that point, and she's locked. Nobody knew Nobody remembered she existed. And her one
that's so
sister
sad.
would go all the time. One of her sisters, and I think it was Ethel, went all the time and would bring clothes and food, and Rose would get very excited.
Oh,
Her mother came one time, and Rose tried to go after her, tried to attack her.
oh, that just breaks my heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's
Do a show on her.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
Mhm.
Her life ended that day. Her life ended. She just waited to die. I mean, she was with people she didn't know. She didn't know them.
God, I just can't imagine. There was
But
a nurse chick said that took care of her for 60 years. There's a YouTube on her.
60 years. Yeah. I mean, and obviously they became her family, but no, she was hidden. You have to hide them. And so when I found out that JFK did visit her a couple of times, while he was campaigning, actually, because he would be in the, around there, it made me, not that I didn't like him anyway, but I thought, well, that's sweet. That's sweet. Because he didn't have to, if that had gotten out, what would
He
have
was
happened?
showing some interest in his sister.
So that's all I have for you today.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we've hit on a lot of stuff tonight. So the next,
yeah, it's amazing the stuff that. Oh my God! Did you find Dorothy's autopsy?
No, let me tell you. I found scribblings of it. I found.
Okay, well I've got it. You want me to send it to you?
Well, no, send it to me, because I've only ever seen the scribblings that were in the book.
Okay, let me.
We're gonna. I think next week, if you're available, Uber. We're gonna go through the end of We've already hit the end of the trial of Jack Ruby, and we're gonna move forward. And we're gonna, because it was this time started to go real quick. And we're gonna go from her collecting the evidence in that folder. Who could have been the possible because people believe that there was a informant in her inner circle, and there was only one person that could have been, and I'll tell you who that is next week. She was getting close.
I have an idea.
She was getting close. She told people, her circle, I'm gonna bust this wide open. Then we'll go through her death, the 1,700 ways that story went down. There's actually many stories about the way she was found. We'll go through the autopsy. We'll
Oh,
go through everything that happened after that. And you will decide, is it accident, suicide, or murder? Thank you, T-Ray. I
I've
love you.
already made up my mind, but yeah, I can't wait.
It's
There it
this
is.
is the good. I mean, what we did tonight is just like, this is the meat. Now we're gonna give you the potatoes and all the dressings because it's
Oh my
really
gosh.
it's so interesting, and it's so bad, it's so wrong, and it really made, it made this woman disappear into history
Hmm.
when she should her. In fact, I asked my mother, right? I don't even know what page I'm on, Crazy Nurse, because I'm just reading it. I thought, just everybody read it at their own pace, and then we'll just discuss, the very beginning and how we feel and all that, and it's going to be fun. We have a book club tomorrow, the Spare by Prince Harry, 5 o'clock.
Yay.
But anyway, so
I love
this
him.
the way she died, she sank into something, into nothing. Even her own children will not stand up for her to this day. Will, including Carrie, will not stand up. She did. Chickwater. She died in Manhattan. They won't stand
That's
up for her. They won't
crazy.
come out and say anything about their mother. I mean, it's sad.
You think they're afraid, or do you think that
I
they just
think
don't know
they
the truth?
because so many things happened. Like when
Stop, boys.
she died, they were adults. Carrie was 9. They were married and
Right.
all, and so spares off. Listen, Julie Poy, I'll talk about that in a minute. So she, I don't know. That's why I like to do people like this, because she needs to be remembered. She
Yeah.
when I asked my
Very
mother about
intelligent woman.
Kilgallen, my mom said, "Oh, the woman on What's My Line?" No, it was, and I looked at my mom and I went, "No, it was. She did a lot more than that." And she went, "Mm." And I thought, "No, we can't
Yeah,
do
people
that."
didn't know her for. Hmm.
Yeah, that she
Yeah,
existed.
people didn't know. Yeah.
So I'm
I'm
gonna tell
sending
you.
you a couple things that I've
Oh,
found.
good.
So
Thank you. Good, because we can use
yeah,
that
you're
next year.
welcome.
I can't next year, next week.
Now the
'Cause
autopsy that I just pulled up, because I hadn't looked in it in a while, there is a bunch of scribbling on it, but I'll look
yeah,
a little bit further and see what
that's
I can
Dr.
find
Luke.
for next week.
That's Dr.
Yeah.
Luke's
Okay.
scribblings. Good old Dr. Luke. We're
Okay.
gonna meet Dr. Luke next week. We're gonna meet a lot of people next week.
This has been
Anybody
so
got
much fun.
questions? I need to listen, Julie Porter. If you are in the UK, I need somebody tomorrow from the UK to be on the panel when we discuss this book, because the way that people in the UK are going after him, and the way that Americans are two wildly different ends of the spectrum. And I need somebody that's from there so that I can find out why. I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand, but I don't understand the way.
I can't wait.
I can't wait either. It's a really good book. And once you start reading it, you really just can't put it down. It's very beautifully written. I think he had a ghostwriter, but it's beautifully written. Whoever did it, I don't know who did it, but they got me. They got me in the foreword of the book. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, so
I love Harry. I love Harry a lot. Yeah.
I always have. And when you read this book, it's called Spare for a reason. He was always.
Me too. What do you think about his wife?
You are the spare. You support. If he needs a kidney, you give it to him. If you, he was always like, even in their bedrooms at Balmoral, William had this huge bedroom. Right, this is right when Diana died. And then you go to Harry's, and it was like much smaller, less stuff in it. And I'm like, really? We did that? We really did that? So, I don't know. But I don't, I love the Queen, so I can't be anything but nice to her. They went over the promise.
I know. I
Well,
love
no,
anything that
Charlie,
has to do with the royal family. I'm on it.
they could want her to rest in peace, but there's so much. When I tell you the evidence, when I show you the evidence of everything that happened, you're going to find out that she's not resting in peace right now. She's not, because
I'll be interested because I love that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna be listening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's going to be good. It's going to be, like I said, I'm trying to bring new fun stuff that is not calling somebody a effer and, talking about drama. That
I love it. Yep.
let's talk about fun, not fun drama,
I'm
but
on it.
drama that ain't nothing to do with us.
Well, if you ever need any
All
help, let me know. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you, everybody,
Thank you,
for coming.
everybody.
See you next Saturday
Bye.
night at 8. And we're going to be part 2, the fun one. I love you all.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard for the book club. All right.
Woohoo.
Stay safe. Stay
Bye.
warm. Bye.